Hey everyone, it's Marshmallow Man here. The Redmi series is a phone series that I hold close to my heart, because during my college time it was the only phone I could afford and its performance was never a letdown. Xiaomi just released its newest budget-oriented smartphone, the Redmi 10. I'm very curious about what it has in store for us. Let's start with the overview. So in my hands now is the Redmi 10, the newest edition of the Redmi series. It is powered by MediaTek's Helio G88 that was announced back in July, so it's a quite recent SoC solution. MediaTek said that the SoC is focused on mobile photography, so let's see how it fares later. Our unit on hand is the 4GB LPDDR4 RAM with 64GB storage variant. Well, there's also another variant carrying 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. The display, which is one of the main features of the Redmi 10, is a 90Hz 6.5-inch Full HD Plus dot display. It also has Reading Mode 3.0, which will overlay the display with paper-like texture and reduce blue light to reduce eye strain. You probably noticed that I unlocked the phone from the side. The Redmi 10 has the usual volume rocker plus a power button with fingerprint scanner built in. The fingerprint scanner is a really good touch. I also find that the metal bezel around the buttons to be very elegant and futuristic, probably giving it some better protection too, as the bezel is metal. On top of the phone, you'll find a single 8MP f2.0 selfie camera. The Redmi 10 adopted a pinhole design. While not exactly my favorite selfie camera design, it definitely beats having a thick bezel. You also find the speakers here are gridded with an additional metal grid. You'll often find more affordable phones having the grid built into the casing, or bezel to save cost. It's good to see Xiaomi not overlooking the little details, because the little things count. The camera of the Redmi 10 is something to look forward to, as it has a 50MP AI quad camera setup. First camera from the second row is the 50MP f1.8 main camera. The top camera within the cutout is the 8MP f2.2 ultra wide angle camera with 128° field of view. And finally, the last row we have is the 2MP f2.4 macro camera and the depth sensor. The 50MP camera is a huge upgrade over the last generation Redmi 9's 13MP camera. But we do see Xiaomi dropping from 5MP macro camera to a mere 2MP macro camera. In my opinion, it's not much of a loss on the macro camera, because it's quite rarely any of the macro cameras produce desirable outcomes. And often I result in using the main camera for similar shots, and often it produces a better image. On the top side of the phone, you'll find the IR blaster, the top stereo speaker, and the 3.5mm jack. I love the fact that Xiaomi did not forgo the 3.5mm jack. While some might argue that with TWS technology, 3.5mm audio jack is no longer that practical, but I always keep a pair of wired earphones in my bag, and never having to worry about its power running out is a perk for me. Below the phone, we have the second stereo speaker and the USB Type-C port. The battery in the Redmi 10 is a huge one, rated at 5000mAh. It supports 18W fast charging plus 9W reverse wired charging. Xiaomi also bundled a 22.5W fast charger in the box, so you don't need to go hunting for another charger. Based on our tests, the Redmi 10 can operate up to 8 hours and 4 minutes with a PC Mark 3.0 battery test. That's pretty good in our books. But do keep your fast charger around. Without it, it's going to take hours for you to recharge it. At this point, I also like to point out how gorgeous that Redmi 10 Pearl White is. The back cover has a soft touch finishing with boosting gradient white that shines off gracefully. Along with the camera cutout, it does give it a very exceptional look that you rarely find in entry-level phones. Oh, and the best thing is, no giant wording behind. So in this review, we'll focus more on real-life usage rather than benchmarking. In PUBG Mobile, the experience with the 90Hz is very smooth. The Helio G88 is capable of giving users a swift gaming experience. I just wish that my network could have been better. With Genshin Impact, here's where things can get a bit tricky. I can only get a smooth experience out of it with everything set to low and anti-aliasing and bloom set to off. A little surprised, but as Vincent said to me, Genshin Impact is like Crysis to a smartphone. So I guess I'm happy enough to get the game to play smoothly on it. You won't see any problems when playing Arena of Valor. Here you can witness smooth gameplay and great input response. Honestly, I think at this point, this phone has proven itself to be worthy of being a college phone. I mean, I can remember spending most of my college time playing games over my Samsung Galaxy Geo, so being able to handle games smoothly is a crucial point for me. No surprises over at Asphalt 9, but what I want to showcase here is how ridiculously loud the phone is. When the volume is maximized, the phone will literally vibrate because of the speaker. That's how loud it is. Here's the juicy part of the Redmi 10, its camera performance. I brought it out for a simple shoot behind my condo compound, overlooking a golf course. At its normal to-go image resolution, it captures a 12 megapixel 4080 by 3072 image. It has okay dynamic range as we are able to see minor details in the clouds, while also in the shadows of a banana tree leaf. Over at the 50 megapixel sample, we can see that the highlight has been blown out. My fault actually. The details are definitely sharper. Here's another example. Zooming in the flowers with 12 megapixel versus 50 megapixel, you can see clearly that only the 50 megapixel image has more detail while zoomed in. The ultra-wide does its job, yes, as you can clearly see more field of view. Being 8 megapixel, it definitely suffices for social media usage. Now here's the image quality of the macro camera. Well, even at well-lit places, you can still see noise and general lack of detail. The focus distance is fixed, so you'll have to rely on yourself to get a sharp image. Even in focus, the image still came out, well, year 2000-ish. In my opinion, the macro camera can be foregoed and just use the main 50 megapixel camera to shoot and crop in later. You'll get better results that way. Over at the video department, you get a maximum of 1080p 30fps resolution. And another feature that is supported is H.265 video encoding, so users can save up more space in video recording. So let's see the full HD video outcome. While we do have autofocus in video recording, we generally think that it also has a lack of dynamic range, although our examples are quite extreme, being sky and shaded shadow. What I like is that when in focus, the video quality still remains sharp enough, so we've got that going. The autofocus is generally quick and speedy. Here's a squirrel running around. Also, the Redmi 10 retained the snapshot while recording function. During this recording of a cat, we can snap a few images out from it. It does come as a surprise to me that 4K video is not available here. But as it is something born from the chipset's limitations, I guess it would be something I have to live with. The Redmi 10 costs merely RM649 for the 4GB RAM, 64GB storage version, and an extra $100 for the 6GB RAM and 128GB storage version. At this price, we were reminded that the Redmi 10 is a budget-oriented smartphone, but based on the features we saw earlier, we have seen many mid-range level features, hence, the price-to-value ratio is very, very high. We love that it carries a 50 megapixel sensor, and yes, our test shows that it is no gimmick at all. The loud stereo speakers are not something we normally find in entry phones, yet Xiaomi still threw it in. Kudos Xiaomi. A good 5000 mAh battery is something that is great to have, especially when you know you're gonna be out and about all day. And finally, the look and feel of the pearl white variant is something I thought would only be found in more premium models. While nothing is perfect, I personally do feel the screen is kinda dim. Nonetheless, even with these shortcomings, it will not stop us from recommending the Redmi 10. Its value is beyond the price it asks for. And it is reminiscent of my college time, where a Redmi phone is something I could only afford. Yet its performance and features are on par with more expensive phones. Thank you Xiaomi for standing by your values. With that, I conclude this review. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our channel for more videos and reviews like this. You can also check out the official Portdo.net Facebook and Instagram pages. We also have our very own Telegram channel where you can find all our news and videos posted every day. Until then, this is Marshmallow Man signing off.